Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Hi if you're new here, hi if you're not. If you've been here a while, you probably already know this story, but if you haven't been, let me explain. Back in 2018, I quit my full-time job to start a yoga business, and at that time, I hired a business coach for $4,500 to teach me how to start that business. Long story short, she would take days on end to respond to my messages and would basically just tell me to journal and write down all the things that I wish I had as if I already had them. Needless to say, I got scammed. I share the entire story in this video right here. So since that time, in about 2018, I have been directly or indirectly involved in the coaching industry in some capacity. In fact, there was even a point in time where I myself identified as a life coach or mindset coach. And I mean, what 26-year-old has the right to be shilling out life advice? It ain't me. All that to say, it's okay. We are older, we are wiser, and a little bit of self-deprecation never hurt anyone, okay? Now, late last year, 2022, I started sharing content around the schemes and scams that are taking place in the online coaching space. And I even started calling myself out for some old posts that I found over on TikTok. I will post the links in the description below if you want to go ahead and watch those videos where I make fun of myself. And if you're someone who enjoys anti-scam content, I have an entire playlist which I will link right here. Please hold, we're having our breakfast. Through the experience of sharing the content here, my content over on TikTok, I have been fortunate enough to connect with so many of you. I want to say a huge thank you to those of you who have helped me reach 1,000 subscribers. This was a milestone 2 months ago that I didn't even know was possible for me to achieve. So I am so thankful, and I just want to say thank you so much for making my dreams come true. Now, today's video was actually recommended to me by one of my subscribers, so shout out to Nick for this idea. I am so excited to get into it. Today, we are going to discuss the crossover between MLMs, coaching, and cults. Now, at risk of this video turning into a 2-hour-long documentary, I thought it would be helpful to start by just kind of doing an overview of these 3 separate entities, discussing the problematic characteristics that they each show or demonstrate, and then touching on the overlap of these things that we see. If you enjoy this video and you want me to make a part 2 further discussing these similarities, you can just let me know in the comments down below. I'll also ask that if you do enjoy this content, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, before we get started, I think it's really important that we clarify some key definitions that are going to be super relevant for the context of this video, just to kind of give you an understanding of where I am approaching this content from. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way. First up, we have MLM. The term MLM, or multi-level marketing, is individuals who are selling products to the public. Often this happens through word of mouth or through direct sales. MLM is also sometimes referred to as network marketing. And the main idea behind the MLM strategy is to exponentially recruit the number of distributors who are selling the product and then just grow the sales force. And so often distributors make more money from recruiting other people to sell the products as well as the sales that those other people make versus their actual sales of the product. And so often to succeed in MLM or network marketing, distributors must continuously be recruiting more people into the business. And some would argue that because of this model, it is essentially a pyramid scheme wherein the very top number of leaders are making most of the money while the people underneath them are not making very much money. And most people are making the majority of their money through the recruiting of other people into the business. And that is based on real statistics and income disclosure statements, which are actually released by the companies themselves that show that most of the money is being made by most of the people at the top of the pyramid. So do with that information what you will. Now let's talk about cults. A cult is a group or a movement held together by a shared commitment towards a specific ideology or a specific leader. Usually it involves isolation from the rest of society and is seen as an organized group whose purpose is to dominate the members of the cult. And this is done primarily through psychological manipulation and pressure strategies. Typically, you'll have your cult leader, you'll have the sub-leaders under that, a group of core devotees, and then all of the rank and file members under that, which again sort of resembles this pyramid-like structure. And lastly, we have coaching. Now, from a textbook standpoint, a coaching relationship is one in which a mentor aids an individual or mentee in designing a vision or a plan for their life life, their business, their spirituality, etc. In the context of this video specifically, we're going to be referring to what I call as the business coaching phenomena, which is this thing that we're seeing online now, wherein people who have never owned a business outside of coaching now coach other coaches on how to start their own business, coaching other coaches to start their own business. Thus, again, resembling this pyramid-like structure. Now, aside from the fact that each of these entities resembles a pyramid in shape, there are many core overlaps in the fundamental beliefs, tactics, and strategies used to recruit, build, and sell people on these opportunities. Today, we're going to dive into what those are, so let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, I've kind of flip-flopped back and forth in terms of the best way to present this content, in terms of how to talk about the red flags, how to talk about the commonalities, and how to accurately demonstrate how these entities are all sort of connected to one another, or at least similar to each other. And so I've decided that rather than step-by-step go through explaining everything about cults, and then everything about online coaching, and then everything about MLMs, that it made more sense to just create this chart and then have a discussion about the specific problematic characteristics and behaviors, and then talk about which of those characteristics and behaviors relate to which of these entities. Hopefully that makes sense. So I think it goes without saying, but everything in this video is based on my opinion, based on my experiences and my understanding. And obviously I don't know everything, so if there are things that I leave out or points that I misspeak on, please be sure to correct me in the comments. Now, with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, I see this one a lot, particularly in the MLM and coaching industries, and that is the promise of financial success. In that people that are either trying to get you to sign up for their coaching opportunity or to sell you on their network marketing opportunity are doing so based on the illusion that this is going to be the thing that changes your life for the absolute better. Whether they're preaching passive income, the opportunity to generate recurring revenue, or the opportunity to make money from anywhere in the world. They sell you on this idea, but they do it in a very oversimplified way, meaning that they never really actually teach you or talk to you about the extensive amount of work and time that's actually required in order to truly generate passive income. They don't talk about the effort that's going to be required, the community you need to build, the expertise and knowledge that you need in order to create the systems and the foundations that generate that money. They just sell you on this idea that if you don't have the money and the success that you desire, their golden ticket solution is going to be the thing that gives it to you. Again, I've said this in many of my other videos, and regardless of whether it's an MLM or a business coaching opportunity, these people are targeting vulnerable individuals who are looking for the perfect solution to their unhappy situation. They want the secret that's going to bring them everything that they desire. And so this one's a hard pass for me, but we'll give 1 point to the MLM and 1 point to coaching. All right, this one kind of ties into the last one, and it's a bit of a doozy, and I completely blame the internet for it. And it's this idea that in this day and age, pretty much anyone can identify themselves as an expert with no real experience and no education in a particular topic. And it creates this problem where all of these experts are sort of all over the map in terms of their level of skill and their level of ability to do the thing that they say they're an expert in, making it not only a minefield to navigate who's legit and who isn't, but also completely eliminating the barrier to entry for someone who wants to start a business. And again, we see this across both MLM and coaching specifically. Business coaches who have never owned businesses, Monet Huns who are selling skincare and hair care but don't have a background in aesthetics or dermatology, life coaches who are 25 years old, Beachbody, or shall I say body coaches who aren't actually trained in fitness and nutrition, giving advice on those things, and so on and so on. Basically, you just purchase a starter kit, sign up for a program, and all of a sudden you're an expert in whatever that topic is. Clearly, an untrained or uneducated person should not be shilling out advice in wellness, in health, in business, in life, in relationships, and so on, but here we are. It's downright dangerous, so let's go ahead and chalk up another point for MLMs and for coaching. I don't want those of you watching to think that I forgot about cults altogether, and so this next point applies to all three, and it is the unreasonable fear of outside criticism. This is the idea that anyone who questions, critiques, or comments on the actions or the behaviors of those in the MLM, in the cult, in the business coaching opportunity must be ill-informed, incorrect, or simply just a hater. And it's this culture of anti-criticism that promotes fear of the outside world and perpetuates the isolation of those involved, be them followers, clients, or members of the MLM. And so as an example, let's talk about where we see this in the MLM space. Once someone someone is in an MLM, they might start to realize how difficult it is to actually recruit people into the business and to actually sell the products that they're supposed to be selling. Sooner or later, these participants are going to start to question whether or not they made the right choice in choosing to join the MLM. They then begin to realize that they're actually spending money versus making it, and they start to question why that is. And when they do this, their upline often just tells them to try harder, or they say that it's just a season that's going to pass, or they use some other tactic to get them away from that place of questioning whether or not this is worth it. And we see this in the sales side of MLMs too. So uplines will often provide their downlines with scripts that they can use on Facebook, on Instagram to message prospects and get them into the business. And alongside that, they usually also provide rebuttals and responses to common rejections and questions that those individuals get from people that they're trying to recruit. And essentially these responses just try and debunk how the criticisms that they have are untrue or that they're just rooted in jealousy. They're told not to listen to their spouses, their friends, and their family about what's going on inside the business or inside the cult, and to trust that it's for their own good, jump in feet first, and don't question it. Let's not even get into what they have to say about people who do decide to quit, because those people are simply just not worthy. All that to say, we're giving points across the board, and we are led beautifully into my next point. Okay, so the target audience for MLM specifically is usually stay-at-home moms. Stay-at-home moms specifically who are looking to earn a little bit of extra side income while they can still, work from home. In business coaching, we often see the target being people who find themselves in unfavorable careers or life circumstances looking for the opportunity to finally live up to their full potential. Where in cults, it's often this promise of a common comfort and security that is found by joining other people who believe in the same things that you do. And in each of these cases, individuals are drawn in on the promise of the community that they're going to find if they join. In fact, I have yet to hear, read, or know about an experience where someone who was in a really good position emotionally, mentally, financially was drawn in and convinced to join an MLM or a coaching opportunity or a cult. Think about it like this. If you found yourself in a position where you were really stressed out, maybe you didn't feel like you knew where your future was headed, you felt like you didn't really have a place to belong, but then suddenly the people around you start talking about this great opportunity where they were able to find all of those things that you were longing for, and they're talking about it over and over and over again, you would probably want to join in too, if anything, only to feel like you fit into the group. And once this happens, it gets extra dangerous, because once you start to fall deeper and deeper into the MLM, into the coaching community, into the cult, you actually start to repel the people that are on the outside. And even if the people in your life don't say it to you directly, they're going to start distancing themselves from you. And this is an understandable reaction from them, but what it does is it forces you to fall back onto this new family and this new community that you found yourself in, leading you further into the cult, further into the coaching, further into the MLM until that's all that you know. And beyond that, this means that when it is time for you to leave, it becomes a lot more difficult than simply just quitting a job, because the community has now become your family. It has become your identity, and getting out would be essentially meaning that you are left with nothing. It's super scary to think about, and in my opinion, it's one of the most important overlaps that we need to discuss. So let's go ahead and give points to all three. So whether it's cults, whether it's MLMs, or whether it's coaching, people are often recruited on the basis of being able to create the life they have always wanted. Whether it's the business, the sense of community, the lifestyle, the financial success, current members lure prospects in on the promise that they have something better to offer them. The reality is that while these opportunities promise you the chance to finally become in the driver's seat of your own life, the opposite is most often true. And those who fall prey are often pressured to continuously invest in courses, in masterminds, in mentors, and go into more debt to make their dreams happen. Chalk one up for all three. It's so gross. I hate it. Similar to the last point I made about the constant pressure to invest in oneself, another similarity that I see is the constant reaching that is promoted by each of these entities. There is always this need to do more, to try harder, to continuously reach for that next level. And across the board, in my opinion, it is clear that there is some level of psychological abuse that is taking place. In the case of both MLM and business coaching, most people who participate participate don't make money. Yet both of these entities only really advertise the success stories of those who do. And this tactic makes most people involved feel like they are a failure. If only they had worked harder, promoted more, shared the opportunity more aggressively, they too could have been successful. And so as time goes on, these people continue to lose more money. Their self-esteem starts to diminish, and they feel like they are at fault for their failure. Anytime they attempt to blame the system with which they are operating in, the blame is then shifted back onto them, whether it's by the coach that they hired or their upline in the MLM who are unwilling to accept outside criticism. This, coupled with the associated financial devastation that usually comes with it, is a recipe for psychological disaster. And while these opportunities masquerade as legitimate business opportunities, they actually resemble cults more than a viable opportunity. We're going to give points to all three for this one. Again, at risk of making this video 2 hours long, I'm just going to touch on one last point of the MLM coach cult trifecta, and that is the use of toxic positivity. Much like the pressures used to encourage people to continuously invest in their self-improvement, toxic positivity is used to keep those vibes high at all times. And so if you're not familiar, the definition of toxic positivity is the excessive and most often ineffective overgeneralization of happiness across all states and situations. Always be optimistic. Again, I've stated it many times, but each of these entities, whether it's an MLM, a cult, a coaching opportunity, they all use the promise of a better tomorrow to hook people in and sell them on the dream. By creating excitement and keeping things positive and light all the time, especially at times when the doubt starts to creep in, toxic positivity keeps the followers in line, if you will. Because no matter what, you must maintain a positive outlook. Not making money in your MLM yet? No problem. You're just working on building the foundation. Having difficulty getting coaching clients? You just need to work on your mindset and your belief that the clients are coming. Feeling isolated from your former friends and support system since you joined this cult? Not a problem. Those people didn't have your best interest in mind anyway. We are your new family. You're actually better off with us. Do you see the commonalities here? Toxic positivity is extremely common across the board with top leaders and influential people telling their followers to keep the vibes high and make sure you only surround yourself with other like-minded people who also want the same success as you. And anything that's not positive is just a limiting belief that you need to get rid of so that you can finally achieve the success that you want. It is my opinion that in the long run, this is an incredibly dangerous way to look at things. It ignores reality. It isn't authentic to the human experience of varied emotions, and it cannot possibly be sustained in a productive way in the long term. Once again, we tally up points across the board here. Again, with this analysis, we are merely just scratching the surface of a much larger conversation to be had here. A conversation about the predatory approaches and practices seen across these industries. And as we take a closer look at each of these three entities, it's really easy to see where they overlap and to understand the shared strategies and tactics that are used. And I could honestly go on and on about where these commonalities exist. And again, if a part 2 is of interest to you, please let me know in the comments down below. I would also love to hear your thoughts, things that I said that you agree with, points that you think I missed. So be sure to leave your contributions. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Give this video a thumbs up, and I'm gonna leave you with this video right here.